Good morning and welcome to Tanya today. Rabbi Ronnie Fine coming to you from Chabad zu'n Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We welcome Liba and Davida in New York. Good morning. TJ, Erev, good evening to you in Australia. And Michael is with us in Germany. Good afternoon. Susan in Scranton. Good morning. Batya and David in Montreal. Welcome. John in North Carolina. Shalom. Abigail in Brisbane, Australia. Okay. Very nice. Heather in Norwalk, Connecticut. Welcome. Travis is with us in St. Louis, Missouri. Irma in New Jersey. Eugenia in Calgary. And Julie is with us in Florida. Tony in Costa Rica, good morning. Pamela in Virginia, welcome. Robert in Boston, shalom. Alice is busy in Baltimore. Okay, B&B, busy in Baltimore. In the Philippines, Darren is with us. Good evening. Anna, back in New York from Greece. Okay, I guess you're on vacation. Or Carl, welcome. Cindy in Florida, Boker Tov. Clement also in Brisbane. Two Brisbaners. I don't know if that makes. Greg in Bakersfield, California. Good morning. Dam is in Indonesia with us. We have Batya and Eliana, David, Tia, Sina, Adam, Salina, Marcy, Akoy, and Sarah, and Telebenta, Megan, Mandy. All right, folks, we are continuing. We are continuing in this very detailed and abstract, lofty letter, understanding the process of creation of a material world, ultimately. And we're going step by step. We spoke about angels yesterday and the souls of angels, where they come from. And we continue today with, actually, the bodies of angels. I'm sorry. Yesterday was about the bodies of angels. And today we speak about the souls of angels. See, the body of an angel is a creation, is a yesh, is a something that comes from nothing. The souls of angels, they emerge from what we call zivug neshikin, which means a union of kissing. It's a more ethereal. It's obviously, when we say kissing over here, we mean the metaphor, or actually maybe physical kissing down here is a metaphor for what the real kissing is up there. It's a union of the spheroids that creates spiritual entities, which is the souls of angels, as opposed to the body of angel. Now, where do our souls come from? Our souls, they emerge from a union of zu'n and atzilus. Zu'n is an acronym for Zeir Anpin and Nukva. Zeir Anpin means small faces, Nukva means feminine. Small faces refer to the 6 divine attributes. The 6 divine attributes are the male parts of the spheroids. They're the male, the divine emotions. And Malchus is the feminine. So there's a union between male and female that has an offspring. And what's that offspring? Souls. Our souls. Now, This union is called zivug gufni, a physical union, but it's not physical. Relative to the kissing union that creates souls of angels, not bodies, but souls of angels, the souls of us, comes from a union, male and female divine union, and emerges from there our souls. Now, okay, what does that mean? It means that before that soul descends, this is a soul from the world of Atzilus, the world of emanation. Before that soul descends, our soul descends into the world of Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiya, and ultimately into this physical world, into a physical body. Before it descends, it is not a created yesh. It is not a substantial something, which a something means an independent, distinct entity. It's not. Rather, it's in the category of godliness, even though the godliness in the soul has an intense contraction from the infinite of God to now form or to make this soul, right? How does that contraction work? Well, Ein Sof means, as the word means, limitless, without end, without end. The limitlessness of God, without end. Well, a soul is not without end, so it needs an end. So it needs to contract that limitlessness of God, of the Ein Sof, into what we call a kav. A kav means a straight line. That straight line, the essence of it is infinite, but that's the essence of it. But it's contracted that it is now vest itself into the nefesh, ruach, and neshama of the divine attributes. Of the divine attributes, the lights of the divine attributes. So it's a light of the divine attributes, but is very much contracted. Now, parenthetically, the Alter Rebbe says over here that sometimes a soul that comes from Atzilus, it doesn't come down and lose its the quality of the soul by when it comes down through the worlds to finally come into this world, and it can come into this world having the quality of a soul of Atzilus that is completely attached to its source. It is so attached that the moment that the body that it enters into wants to do something, seeks to do something that sin, the soul will remove itself, and that person will die. Because it's such a refined soul, they cannot bear the separation from its source. Now, that's not the case of me and the rest of us, right? But this is a what's the word? Of some souls. Right? The phrase that God takes the best ones. Well, this is the idea where it comes from in its Hasidic geography. In other words, when the soul and it in its journey from Atzilus goes through Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya, so picks up things there, and it's no longer it becomes a substantial yesh, it becomes a something, it becomes an independent being, and ultimately, in particular when it's vested in a body, right? But some souls not that way, very few that way, but there are a few souls like that. They can't sin. That's a result. But the rest of us, when the soul does journey and come down, it becomes now a yesh. It becomes a something. It's no longer um, godliness, you know, godliness, um, godliness. Not to say, when it travels down, it's still the core source of it is this essence of the soul is still. That's the way the soul is in its root source. But as it comes down, that godliness abuses. Now, the fact that a soul is godly, so you might think, oh, the divine attributes are also godly. Yet, divine attributes have the power to create something from nothing. Does our divine soul have the power to create something from nothing? It is too, it is also godly? No, it doesn't have that power. It doesn't have that power. Why? Because it's emerged and has become separate from the kelim of the 10 divine attributes in Atzilus. Because it's become detached from its source, even though it's still godly. But godly, not mamish, really godly in the sense that it has godly power to create something from nothing. That is only a power of God. It doesn't have that. Only God has that power because he is a power that nothing preceded him. The soul, something preceded it. You know, the divine attributes, the 10 spheres of Atzilus, the vessels of the 10 spheres of Atzilus preceded it to, and it emerges from there. And with this, we can appreciate then more deeply the idea of Yesh Mi'ayin. God, the Creator, investing himself in the Kav, which is the power of, which is the first source of power of limitation, vests itself into the 10 divine attributes, and particularly into the vessels and the way they are in the world of Atzilus, as we've explained yesterday in great detail. You know, the 3 dimensions of a vessel: inside, outside, in the middle, and 3 dimensions of the light: nefesh, ruach, neshama. And so what we can appreciate now is that God, in creating something from nothing, what God is actually doing, and something we can't do, is creating the antithesis of him. What's the antithesis of him? Something separate from him. Something separate in its own estimation, right? Before he created the world, there's nothing else but him. After he creates the world, well, there's something separate from our estimation, from our perspective, our awareness, a sense of separateness. That is the antithesis of him. Him being everything. Nothing outside of him. So only God has that power to do that. It's almost like the question of, can God create a rock that he can't lift up, right? Which is a foolish question, in a sense. But on that idea, he's creating something. He's not a yesh, he's not a something. As a matter of fact, our problem is that we're humans and everything in our world is a something. Something like this, something like that. But it's not a no thing. It's not nothing. It's not no thing. If it was no thing, we couldn't talk about it. Well, God is not a something. So there's no parameters, no dimension, um, no definition. And again, for us, we can't talk in those terms. No definition, no parameters. Well, everything in the world that we know has some form of parameter, has some form of definition. You can't even say God is found because that's a parameter. So the term that's used is bilti mitzias minimsa. Without being, he is found. Can't say he's a being. Well, being. Oh, what sort of being? Give me the parameters and the definition of this being. Well, no, he's not. Right? He's not. Period. Oh, okay. That's why, what's up? So, and yet, God, without being, he is found. Without found, he's a being. Right? He's not. Um, or maybe you should say without being found, he creates the antithesis, which is Hayesh. Only God can do that. We can't do the antithesis of us. Okay, that was pretty. That was pretty ethereal. That was pretty mystical. Let's unpack some of this. The first point that I want to, I've mentioned this before, but it's worthy of mentioning again. God has a first name and a last name. Oh, wow. That's interesting. Especially last names is, only about 200 years old. Before that, there wasn't. It was only like first names, and your name was like, how are people called? Called, if there were three Jacobs in the community, Yankel, right? So how do you distinguish three different Yankel? Well, one was blonde, so they called him Yankel de Geller. Geller means blonde, and that's why how last name of Geller came about, because Yankel Geller, he was blonde, so Yankel de Geller. But you called him Yankel the Blondie. And then there's Yankel the Schwarze, Yankel the black-haired one. Schwartz comes from Schwarz, meaning black, black hair. And, and then it was always, Yankel the Reite, the red-headed one, Reite, Reuter, or Rotter, or, and the like. So black, it was only first names. It was only first names, no last names. No last names. God only had a first name. He didn't have a last name. I'm making up first name, last name. Obviously, God doesn't have a first name or last name. He just said he's without being, he is found, right? So you can't make a being with a name. Oh, we have to give a name because we're human. We have to use terminology, words, so we can communicate ideas. God's not an idea. Moish, good to see you. Sorry. So, what's his first name? Hashem. God. Hashem. God. What's God? God. How do you describe the essence of God? Keep your mouth shut. That's how you do it. Right? Open up your mouth and start saying, well, the essence of. No. Beyond. Even beyond. Beyond means beyond something. Can't even say that, ultimately. So we call Ein Sof, because we got to give some Ein Sof, without limit. God, Shem. What's his last name? This is new. Last names. Godliness. That's God contracted into 10 divine attributes. That's godliness. 3 intellectual, 7 emotional. That's godliness. Already has a parameter. Hey, when did godliness have come about? Like, when does last name come? Actually, this really explains it. The Alter Rebbe explaining it in Tanya, even though it was there before, but it wasn't really revealed that much. It wasn't very that much taught. It was because it was still, we just God, that's it, Hashem, whatever Hashem wants. Now we're trying to understand so we can have a deeper, more profound relationship with Hashem. So through godliness, through the 10 divine attributes that have definition. Chachma is Chachma, Bina is Bina, Das is Das, Chesed, Chesed. Each one has its definition, have its parameter. That's the limitation, the power of limitation of God. Even though God is limitless, but you can't say he's merely limitless. He has to be also limited. He has to have a limited power. Otherwise, he's not complete, perfect, because there's something lacking. So there's both. So here we're talking about now creation. And now we're speaking in creation, we're talking about souls and angels. Souls coming from a union of godliness. What parts of godliness? Zeir Anpin, small faces, 6 emotions, the male component. What I call male? God male, God's female. That's godliness. God's beyond male, female. No such thing. And even when we use the term male, female, it is beyond, we're using those terms because even in godliness, even though it has definition, but that's how we perceive and that's how we understand and that's how we have to communicate so we can get a little more of an inkling and understanding. So in godliness, so there's a union, divine, how you can talk, that's godliness. In God, beyond anything. And there's nothing to talk about, nothing to speak about. Just submit, but don't understand and don't become closer by understanding that will feed you emotionally, that you feel more attached. And then serve God even with a greater illuminated service rather than just God. So that is what we're going through over here to get, to try to get a deeper understanding. So the souls, divine soul, through this divine union, right? Which also parenthetically, that's why the whole concept of male and female. And anything that is contrary to that, let's get the male and male together, or the female and female together. As it says in the Torah, that's an abomination. Well, now we have a deeper understanding what it means, an abomination. Because the whole point is male, female, two opposites coming together that create a union to beget something. To beget something. And here, what is it begetting? Well, there's souls of angels, there's our souls, right, of Adam, that are godliness. Now, they're not godliness that have the power of godliness, that's vested in godliness and the divine attributes, that they have the power of God to create an antithesis of them. So we don't have that power. But we do have godliness because the reason we don't have it because we emerge from those. We come out. We're separated from the source in the sense that we don't have that power of the source, right? But godliness nonetheless, meaning not separate from God, totally bound up in one with God. That's the nature of the soul. So much so that some souls don't lose that quality as they come into this world. A few. So much so that when they're in danger of losing the connection through doing a sin and being severed the connection in the moment, not severed for good, not rotting in hell, no, not at all, but losing it in the moment, the soul can't stand that and removes itself from this world, or is removed from this world, that it shouldn't have that happen to it. That's a very powerful idea. That's like awesome. All right, enough of me talking. Let's go to some questions. Let's go to some conversation. No, I gotta say, sometimes I like to talk. But it's also good to hear what others have to say or questions. 2 question marks before you ask. So that way I can know that it's actually a question. Reminder today, Rambam. By the way, those didn't get a chance to come to my class yesterday, strongly suggest on Yom Kippur, go to YouTube.com slash, oh, actually, 1 second, even better. I think it was put up here on Facebook, but if you go to my YouTube station, yeah, youtube.com slash Tanya Rabbi, you'll see experience a different Yom Kippur. It was actually worthwhile listening. I should probably listen again to it for myself. Okay. What's going on here? Questions. Davida, you have a question. Okay. What does it mean when we say on Yom Kippur that we stand before Hashem like angels? Because our soul is pure. Angels are pure. They're pure. So we are like angels. That's why the idea of wearing a kittel, because of the pureness of soul that is expressed on Yom Kippur. So yeah, so we're angelic, and that's why when we say Shema Yisrael, we say the Baruch Shem loudly. We say in undertone, we say it loudly because it's a prayer that we kind of took from the angels. But since we're angelic, we're pure, as we are standing before God and repenting, and the day itself brings such a cleansing that the essence of the day brings an amazing new beginning, a new start, a cleansing process. Yeah. Okay, Margot, please share with us.
So I had a question that is maybe not really a topic, but you did mention Yom Kippur and your YouTube. You might have been just um, projecting what I was thinking, which is, are any rabbis, including yourself, at some point opening rooms to talk about just some of the, I guess, the practical aspects of the fast? So I'm always, I've done this for a long time, but I'm always wondering about if I need to swallow a pill for medication, et cetera, et cetera. So you just very basic questions, and I've heard varying, um, instructions about that. So I'm wondering if somebody might be offering a room where we could address those questions.
Okay, that's probably a good idea. Maybe we should do that. Um, if a couple of people will private message me and or even tell me now a time that would be good, um, either later on uh, this afternoon or um, probably later on this afternoon or maybe tomorrow afternoon. That would be for me might work out. Okay, but yeah, good, very important. Sometimes, yeah, here we're talking about very abstract, ethereal ideas. Sometimes we need the very, concrete. That's what we learn Rambam every day, which reminder today at 1 o'clock, um, in order to make sure that we have the practical and the things that we need to know and do. But thank you, Margot, for bringing that up. Absolutely. So, um, okay, let's continue. And if anybody else, either message me or something so we can set up a time. Sarah, Davida, what happens to a soul of a baby that was miscarried in pregnancy? Nothing. Maybe that's all the soul needed to do is to be carried for whatever amount of time by a Jewish mother. Maybe that's what it was lacking. Who knows? Sarah, what do you mean by the soul removes itself from this world if it can't be one with God? It is the last thing you said at the end. Yeah, it means the soul is so tenuous, its connection down here because it's still connected with God totally in a manner that if it would be brought to sin, it would disconnect itself. So before it would come to do a sin, that soul leaves this world, meaning person passes away. That's what it means, and that's maybe the idea of what it means. God takes the best ones. Perhaps that's what it means. I hope that was clear. Gotcha.
Hi, Rabbi.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have a question from someone asked me to ask. So, someone wants to know if there are new souls that are that come down versus we know that there's
Reincarnated.
Jews that yes, well, not reincarnated, but new souls. But there are there any new souls? That's the question.
Right. So I don't know. I have no idea. The Baal Shem Tov, ask him. He might know. He'll know because he said about the Alter Rebbe, our teacher, that he was a new soul, and that's a very unusual thing. That there should be a new soul that comes into this world. Um, we are, for the most, for the most part, we are reincarnated.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay, we are. That's for the most part. So, and the only reason we know that the Alter Rebbe is a new soul is because the Baal Shem Tov uh, told his students. And he didn't even know who that new soul was originally until it became revealed to him. He just knew that a new soul entered the world. He said, well, how does he know that? Well, here's the Baal Shem Tov. There's a story with the Rebbe that there was a terrorist attack in Israel, and there was someone that came by the Rebbe. I don't know if it was for dollars or yechidus, private audience, but and who was the person responsible for, I don't know if it was the hospital or the health care of those people that were um, hurt, and they had some kind of responsibility in helping in after the terrorist attack, and he came by and said, asked the Rebbe for blessing, that there those that got hurt, and there were 21 that were killed And then it was said to him, and it was 23. And this person who wasn't a chassid said, Rebbe, I'm sorry, but I'm responsible. I know what's going on, and it's 21. I don't know if they ever repeated to him. I don't recall now the detail. Well, it came when he went back to Israel, and what happened was that found, well, less 23. Two more people passed away, and it made it to a total of 23. So he when he came back to the Rebbe, he asked, like, hmm, how does the Rebbe know that? So it must have been in his room, because the Rebbe said, when souls enter this world, they come through this room. When they leave this world, they leave through this room. Now, don't ask me what that means. I have no idea. Just repeating the idea of what it means, a righteous person, not just a righteous person, the Rebbe, Reish B'nai Israel, the head, the leader, the Jewish people, and hence, by the way, therefore leader of the world, ipso facto, um, in spiritual sense, and not just in spirit, beyond spiritual, not just spiritual, literally. The souls go through the room. They're connected. As Reish B'nai Israel means the head of the Jewish people, so just like the head leads the body and controls the body, so likewise the head of the people, the Rebbe, so the souls are in contact with the head, so it goes through the room. Well, makes sense. I mean, I don't understand it, but I get the logic of it.
Wow.
All right, so that's like, so the Baal Shem Tov, he was the head in his generation, so he knew, but no idea. But that's a unique thing. The Vida, are our souls pre-connected to the family with in this world? Yeah, there's a connection. Yes, absolutely. There's a spiritual connection that we have to our family, and that becomes now a physical connection when we actually come into this world. It actually becomes a physical connection when we come into this world, absolutely. All right, any other questions, any other comments, anything from Norm? Haven't heard you from you for a while. Eliana, please share.
Hi. Yes, good morning. So, if a Jewish soul in this world marries a non-Jewish soul, what is that affecting in the spiritual realm?
Not good stuff. It's not good. Um, Not good. Just like any sinful act brings klipa into the world. Marrying um, someone who was not meant for you to marry brings klipa, brings negativity, negative forces, negative energy into this world. Whether you sense it, whether you feel it, whether you believe it, you know, um, that's the reality. That's the reality. Yeah. Is that
Thank you.
that?
So, what if just taking it further? So, say a soul that is Jewish but doesn't realize it yet, and it hasn't gone through the conversion, but they're married outside of, they're married before they even, before their soul starts to wake up. I mean, is there some, excuse me, is there some sort of something in the spiritual realm where those two souls haven't connected for some reason, or is that just, the Yetzirah, interfering?
That's a very good question. Um, so the wrong choices we make are wrong choices. The consequence of wrong choices is a path that God creates. That path is meant to be a path to lead us to tshuva, to come to a greater place than we would have not been able to come if we didn't make the wrong choice. That's really the ultimate. Now, we can constantly be making wrong choices, right? Rather than recognizing that the wrong choice I made is something I need to own, and now that path that was created is a path that God created in order to bring me to a greater place. I wouldn't be able to come otherwise. So that could be, in that instance also what that means. But that's already a detailed question that is in Tanya therapy.
Very good. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
But what if by marrying the non-Jewish person, you then bring Jewish souls into the world?
What does that mean? Well, if a man marries a non-Jewish woman, his seed goes to non-Jewish children.
No. What if you're female Jewish and you raise your children Jewish?
Okay, but I mean, first of all, if the mother's Jewish, then the child is Jewish. Period. Right? It's still uh, any cohabitation between a Jew and a non-Jew is brings klipa into the world, brings negative forces into the world. So that doesn't mean, negative forces doesn't mean that therefore the child is not Jewish. The child's Jewish. And that's wonderful to raise the child. So when you're doing Jewish things with the child, so then you're bringing, goodness and holiness into the world. Um, but in the cohabitation between a Jew and a non-Jew, you're bringing negative forces into the world. So it's two separate things. You're raising you're doing a mitzvah with your child. Wonderful, a Jewish child. You need to do a mitzvah. But the cohabitation, it's, we do good and we do also things that are not so good, right? So the good that we do isn't disqualified because we did something not good, right? If you gave charity yesterday to a poor person lovingly, and today you didn't have the time of day, you were just distraught with something, and you were kind of um, neglectful. Did it take away what you did yesterday? No. Yesterday was great, and today, okay. So same thing is over here. One thing doesn't discard or do away with the other. Does that make sense? Resonate?
Yes. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Norm, good to see you. And now to hear from you.
Good morning. Good to see you as well. I heard my name. I was making coffee, so I had my hands full. Happy days of awe and easy fast. I'm getting anxious. I'll be honest. I have a place to go for Yom Kippur, so I'm happy about that. So, any questions? You're going to have a room. Did you decide later on today about last minute preparation for Yom Kippur?
Would 3:30 be good?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I should be here. I'll be working, but I'll have it on in the background probably.
Okay. Margot, is that good?
That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
So if I click the little bell, I wonder if I'll get a reminder. All right, maybe you'll make the club later,
Yeah,
and then I'll
I'll
be
make
with
the
them.
club. Yeah, or yeah.
I missed the beginning.
Uh,
Souls emerge from union of zu'n.
the souls are a union between male and female of the divine. Zu'n is an acronym for Za, Zerampin, small faces, referring to 6 emotions that are masculine, and Nukva, which means feminine, which refers to Malchus, sovereignty, royalty, which the feminine aspect of the divine. And there's a union between them that begets a soul.
So, if you feel like hanging out and talking, I'm divorced, so I have questions. Is she, I was talking about this with Rabbi Hecht over here in Park Slope.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, his whole family were all at the Shabbos table. One of the best experiences of my life, just by the way, about Shabbos.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, it was
Send
beautiful, and the
regards.
food is
Send regards.
okay. Okay, you guys are friends.
Yes.
So well, I'll tell him then. I'll tell him. So in addition to that, no, but we were all of his family was there. So we said, let's talk about interesting things. We talked about dating, and then what is it if you get I had watched a little bit of Rabbi Mana's treatment that we don't really date. It's just like you meet with somebody. If they're your husband, husband. If not, then you move on. Now you can meet a couple times to see how it goes, but basically it's binary. This is my husband. This is my not. Or he was talking to women. If I'm a guy, so this is, I guess, this is my wife, or this is not. Maybe the women are the ones who choose. I don't really know. So thank you. There was a bit of comedy intended in there, so I'm glad you picked up on it. So from the male point of view, here I am divorced, and I have a wonderful son. Yes, she was Jewish. She is Jewish. She's still alive. So is she my soulmate? Was she my soulmate? You create a child together. This is such a profound experience. The link between you and your child, the link to your the wife you made the child with. It's I can't even unravel it. It's so profound and intense. However, we're not together.
Right.
So there's a bittersweetness to the whole thing. I just dropped him in college, so I'm gonna see her sometimes around the quad. And so there was high school graduation. I want to keep it cordial and courteous so that my kid feels comfortable. I don't want him to feel awkward. So all of these questions. Also, if I don't know whether I'm looking for a wife, like I'm shopping for a jacket. But yes, I would like to marry again because I agree with this idea of souls requiring each other, needing each other. But I'm
Right.
confused as to what the new. I'm not. I don't think I'm going to have a kid with a person. So what is the purpose, and how do you look for somebody? When you're already, past middle age, and you already have a kid and everything. It's
Right.
interesting to me. Anyway, that's
So,
probably too many questions. But since you called on me, that's what's on my mind.
getting back to the idea of that in the divine, there's a union between male and female. If you look in when we do a mitzvah, we also there's a union of the male and female in the divine. And what does it beget? A new divine light. So sometimes it's a new, it's a, it's a soul that is created of a human soul. Sometimes it can be an angel soul, right, from the kissing union that we spoke about in the beginning. And then there is when you do a mitzvah, whether it's giving tzedakah or charity, whether it's putting on tefillin, whether it's um, Shabbos celebrating, Yom Kippur now, fasting Yom Kippur and the like, and so on. So what we're doing is creating a new light, a new divine energy that enters the world and influences us and the world around us. So everything is about a union between male and female, and hence, if we are to act godly, so we have to understand that a union between male and female is brings new light, new life, and sometimes a child, not always a child, right? Not always a child, but it does bring new light. It does bring new life. It brings a deeper bond between the two, husband and wife. Um, and so when we understand that everything is ultimately the King Solomon said there's nothing new under the sun. Nothing, there is nothing new under the sun. Everything is a cyclical and there's no change, right? Okay, there might be from energy to matter, from matter to energy, equals mc squared. Okay, fine. But really no real major change. Except that's under the sun. Over the sun, there's major changes. And that's where the union is a divine thing over the sun, right? The union above that we create through the mitzvah that we do, like right now learning Torah, learning Tanya, that we create this union that brings something new to the world that didn't exist prior. So that's a major, thing to appreciate and understand. And what is it that we're creating is this union above, and this is what we say before the Baruch Sha'amar prayer every day. L'shem yichud uh, shchinte For the sake of the union between Hakadosh Baruch Hu, the blessed one, the Holy One, blessed be He, which is the male, masculine part of the divine, the Shechinte, and Shechina, which is the feminine, the divine presence, the feminine of the divine, that we make a union. And this is now a union that we're doing in prayer. And every mitzvah that we do is likewise a union that brings, begets something, new life, new light into this world. So as a result, we can understand that the family unit um, then becomes sort of that parallel of reflecting that. That being said, Norm, yes, a great idea to try to find uh, the the you know a proper Jewish woman for you, absolutely. Um, but that being said, begin creating a union, you do it just by mitzvah. So the optimum is in the family unit that reflects it, in a physical union between husband and wife, but it is there. And each and every single one of us, every day, we have the opportunity through a mitzvah to create the union of the divine and bring that into this world. So if someone isn't married, doesn't mean that they are sort of like, out of the, you know, beyond the pale. God forbid. Not at all. Not at all. Um, not at all. So it shouldn't be thought of that way, shouldn't be looked at that way. And, but at the same time, that's what God wants us to do. That's where the situation that He wants us to find ourselves in order that we do the mitzvahs. Same mitzvahs, same tefillin, same Shabbos. Okay, now it's maybe a little more, whatever, because it's not just you, just a guest somewhere, but you. Now, in reference to your wife that you were married to, yes, she was meant for you. Yes, you were meant to be together. Absolutely. How do I know? Because you were. Period. Um, or you meant to break up? Well, I mean, could have that been prevented? I have no idea. And that's not a point for me. But what it means that you were meant, and you had to go through whatever you had to go through. Hopefully, learn and grow from it. And yeah, even have a son, and to bring and that you have as a result. So that's yeah, it was definitely meant. And now you just got to go to the next level, the next union through a mitzvah, through. um, I hope that clarifies some things.
Yeah, I'll repeat a little bit back to you very briefly because I loved it and I want to hang on to it. So, the opportunity for creating perhaps lesser forms of union, but nevertheless important and significant, are all around us all the time. By doing mitzvot, we're shedding light on the world. One of the great ones is through marriage, and that's something that is okay to aspire to, but we're not out here dangling. We're connecting with God, and we're creating smaller unions or different kinds of unions all around us all the time. And so one doesn't have to feel alone, although it is a great mitzvah for a man and a woman to get married. And if it's not meant to have children at a certain time around after a certain age,
Right.
at least the two get together. I don't know what the at least is because
Yep.
I love my kid so much, and so it had to be meant to be because I just love my son, and that's one of the greatest and most fulfilling things of my life. But there are also so it's possible to have a spiritual union with somebody besides your wife if you get divorced.
Well, it can be. Yeah, no, you can have a second person who was meant for you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay,
Lucky me.
Well, I give you a bracha that you should find uh, zivug. You should find your connection. All right.
What's the zivug?
Connection.
Okay, thank you.
So I have some questions here on Facebook. So before let me get to them, Susanna, what do you know about the soul of or creation of Mashiach in this context? Mashiach is the loftiest of all souls. That's what I know. Um, Lion of Judah, how is the head Mashiach? Because the head controls. Mashiach is the ultimate. So, the head is the highest point in us and what controls the rest of the body. Denise, the opening of the tomb of the matriarchs and the patriarchs, that is said that were Adam and Eve buried, and they said they can smell Gan Eden. Can you sense souls in Gan Eden at that opening? Yeah, if you're lofty enough. No, I can't, but maybe some people could. um, okay, I think got everybody. Vida, is a soul both genders before it is placed in a specific physical male female body? No, it's not. It is specific. Yes, it is a specific gender. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, line of Judah. Is Mashiach by birth a portion of Jew or portion of royalty or portion? Well, Mashiach is a Jew and of royalty, and it needs to be revealed within the person. Okay. Is there a time limit on club? Depending on my time. All right, folks. So I think today at um, 3:30, I'm going to confirm that, but I think today at 3:30, we'll do something about Yom Kippur. Um, we'll have it also on Instagram, and we'll have it on my Instagram, and we'll have it on perhaps on we'll have it on Facebook, but I don't know if if it'll be the Chabad.org or if it'll be mine. So I'll keep you posted. Okay. If I don't have your email, anybody, if I don't have your email, please share your email at tanyarabbi.com, your name and your email. So that's the best way that we keep connected. Letting you know everything. On Instagram, there is a question. Oh, Sarah, one more. I think that the Rambam who said that you could only marry twice, is that correct? No, I never heard that. Um, will Mashiach have a new soul? I don't know. I'm not certain he has a new soul. Ooh, what happens to the soul of a baby when a mother does an abortion? The soul is a soul. A soul doesn't get lost. A soul doesn't get destroyed. Um, doesn't get destroyed. Okay? Does not get destroyed. So, might have to come back, or maybe that's all it needed. Only God knows. I don't. All right, folks. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine coming to you from Chabad zu'n in Montreal, Canada, where it is a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We'll see you later. All the best. Have a wonderful day.